Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming in Miniature video. This is going to be our figure spotlight for our French line infantry box set. I've got this box set because I'm going to be playing some black powder. The reason why I got black powder was because I can play my Napoleonics as well as my American War of Independence, all using the same rule set. I don't have to have multiple rule sets. And I'll be doing a review on the rule set in a future video. But today we want to show you what's actually in a black powder French line infantry box set. It says you get 24 hard plastic and metal 28mm models, and it has a beautiful box. It has a great paint scheme right here. It looks like you got your Voltigeurs. You got each of your line companies with their pom-pom colors like purple, blue, orange, and green. And then you've got your Grenadiers on the end there. And then your command stand is in the middle. Now the way the black powder is based is not that important. So if you want to base them for a game like Napoleon's Battles, you can. If you want to base them for Grenadier, you can. If you want to base them for black powder, they recommend a 40 by 40, but I think that's just like a default. If you want to base them however you want to base them, it doesn't matter, because the way the rule system is, that's not very important. Okay, so but 20mm width on a figure is the most important thing. It's the frontage of the model that's important. All right, now let's take a look and see what you actually get in the box. Okay, you get a pamphlet, and you get some figures, and you get a little bag of metal miniatures. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is the pamphlet. Okay, I'm going to push this off to the side. Okay, so right here we're talking, I don't know if you can see that, I don't know if it's in focus, but it talks about the Voltigeurs and what their uniform looks like, the Grenadiers and what their uniforms look like, a basic battalion at 6 companies, and blah, blah, blah. And it goes down on the list and explains the French. On the back side, very important. These are flags. These are 28mm flags. Basically, this is a great historical reference sheet. I would hate to have to cut this up, but because of the 28mm flags, if you were to get 6 of these boxes, you could make 6 different regiments. These flags are, now, this is something I don't like about this flag, and this is my personal pet peeve. They draw in the folds. Okay, you see how the gray lines are there? And that's a drawn in fold. Don't like that. Because when I get the standard bearer, and if I cut this out and I fold it in half, it's going to be flat, and it's going to look like it's got folds. Well, what I normally do is I will take a flat flag with no folds, I will put it together, and I'll make my own folds in the paper, right? And then it'll look like it's blowing in the wind. And just the just the actual physical, like this flag here, it's actually folded around. Now, I haven't tried this yet because I am going to use these flags. I think I'm going to use a 9th. But I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to glue it to the standard, and I'm going to attempt, using probably a paintbrush or something, to make the folds along these lines. And then those will be, it'll automatically accentuate the folds that I'm going to make. So if that's the case, then I'll reverse my thought process and say that I love them. But right now, I'm afraid I'm going to hate them. But we'll see. All right, now let's take a look at the metal bag. We got some metal figures right here. First thing I want you to know is, there you go, you get a spear. Okay, this is a 2-inch spear. This spear is for your standard bearer. But it is the same metal spears that you can get on the Warlord site. It's got the spearhead, and it's, you know, it's made of metal. Alright, so don't lose it. We'll have to make one out of a sprue or something. Okay, so you get your or I should say, your command stand. A lot of metal flash on this. His sword's bent. You're gonna have to do a little bit of trimming. This is obviously the standard bearer. He's holding the standard up, and you can imagine that being in his hand, or actually probably propped in his carriage right there, his sling. So it's going to go in the sling there, and then in his hand we'll have to maybe Dremel tool or pin vise a hole through there, because it'll rest right there like that in his hand. That looks okay. That's pretty cool. You'll notice none of these guys have heads. This would be the officer. This would be the there's usually like a guidon. I want to call him an aide-de-camp or an aide. That he's actually, his sole purpose in life is to guard the standard bearer. Okay, so right now you're looking at pretty good. You're looking at a couple of streamers that you can attach to the flag. So that's your eagle, and that where the streamers hang down from the spearhead, because it's not actually supposed to be a spear. It's, yeah. And then you've got, what do you got here? Looks like a pistol in a holster. You got a couple of those. Those normally went with the attendant. And then you had your, oh, these are the same sprues, aren't they? No, they're not. They're two different sprues. You got a head with the bicorn facing the direction of the way he's looking, and then you got one going across. Then you've got, those would be probably the two attendants, but in the picture they're showing the attendant with the grenadier plume. He's got extra streamer off his helmet. That's pretty cool, but it looks like you get about 6 heads for 4 guys, or you could use some of the heads that are in this, and we'll get into all that in a minute. These models look pretty good. I mean, I see quite a bit of detail on these. Yeah, his sword and his backpack, and there's a little trimming you're gonna have to do, a little cleanup, but I don't think there's any figure line out there that doesn't have, any metal figure line anyway, that doesn't have any kind of trim or cleanup. Okay, so we're going to just leave those there. Okay, so now we get 5 sprues. FYI, you do not get any bases. You don't get any bases with these guys. You get their individual model bases that you normally would get with like a metal figure or something. You get the individual bases, but you don't get any unit bases. And why is that? Because that's not important to this game. It is important to you and I as a modeler, because we have to base our figures, but we have to determine how we're going to base it. And do we want to use the standard convention of 40 by 40, or do we want to use like a 1 1/4 by 1 inch, or whatever it is for Napoleonics at 28 millimeter? You know, how Napoleon's battles at 28 millimeter. All right, so let's take a look at these sprues. I do believe, like most of the other games, like most of the other Warlord games, miniatures that you get in a box, when they come with plastics, all the sprues are usually exactly the same. Well, I'm testing that. Yes, all 5 of these sprues are exactly the same. Now, when each one of these would be a company, you know, or a stand. Each one of these would be one stand. One stand there, 5 more stands, a total of 6 stands. Okay, when you're looking at this, you get 4 guys. But you get more than that when it comes to backpacks. You're getting 5 backpacks. A mug, a bag, a couple of bayonet, or I should say swords and bayonets. And they all have the ammo pouch, which you absolutely have to have. And they all have the bedrolls, which is good. This one's got some kind of cooking pot. That's pretty cool. Okay, how many of these do you need in your unit? Not a whole lot, I wouldn't think. I'm going to be using these more than anything else. I'll throw a few of these in there just for color. Okay, now the heads. You get 8 heads. You get 1 head that is the Grenadier head. Okay, so in your Grenadier unit, you're going to either use the bearskin caps or you're going to use the shakos with the plumes in the front. If it's a Grenadier unit, I would use the bearskins. You can use either one. Okay, you want to keep them the same in the unit. Do a little research, find out which one it's supposed to be in that regiment, and use it. If it's supposed to be the bearskin, use the bearskin. If it's supposed to be one of these, then I would use these. And you're going to have to crib or steal from your other sprues to get 4. Okay, because you're not going to use those in every unit. You're only going to use them in the Voltigears and the Grenadiers. Okay, now when it comes to your pom-poms, you have 4 sprues, 4 heads per company with the pom-poms, but if you look closely, some of them have more knotwork than others, and some have tassels and others don't. So you have to, and then there's this soft campaign cap. You might want to throw that in on a couple of them. I don't know if I want to do that because I like my units to be uniform. So what I might do is save these heads. Oh, of course I'm going to save all my heads, but and then maybe make a whole unit of just these types of caps or something. I don't know. But it looks pretty cool. These look like they're going to go together super easy. There's only 3 parts per model. Basically, you have the body, choose a backpack, choose a head, done. The backpacks have little nipples that go in the hole in the back, so you can't mess that up. You can't, mess up where it belongs. The guys that are in the units, they're either double-handing it. It's all shoulder arms. That's good. And they're all bayoneted. That's kind of cool. These guys they're all walking at a different pace, which is fine. And then, like, he's got his arm wrapped around it, but his right arm is close. He's got his arm wrapped around it, but his arm is out. He's got his arm wrapped around it, but his arm is swinging to the front. And this guy's got both hands on his rifle. So that's pretty cool. And those are all exactly the same. Now, these I will mix up in my regiments. I'm not going to put each of my companies with the exact same pose. It looks like, I'm just kind of taking a look at the box, but it looks like, no, see, he mixed it up here. I was going to say they all have the same pose. Oh, wait. Yeah, these guys don't have the same pose. And these guys don't have the same pose. But those guys all look like they have the same pose. The arm's out. Okay, so is the arm out a special Voltigear versus Grenadier look? I don't think so. Now, there is something I just noticed. This second model here has a bayonet under his right arm, kind of sticking out. So be sure not to use either one of these 2 packs on this figure right here, because that would double up his bayonets. That would be unnecessary. So make sure you use one of these 3. Yeah, so it looks like these models go together super easy. It looks like they'd be really fairly easy to paint because of hell. I painted like probably over 1,000 15mm Napoleonic figures. So these 28s are going to be like a breeze. But on the flip side, there's a lot more detail on a 28mm model, so it might actually be harder. But we'll see. Okay, something I want to point out on this flyer that I just kind of glanced over. You notice this guy's in a red uniform. Well, he's showing that the Swiss army had exactly the same uniform as the French. The only difference was the color. That's kind of a neat little piece of information if you didn't already know. Alright, so thanks for coming out and checking out this video. The next time I get a video about the French line infantry, they will be finished, and I'll show you my finished product.